What if the wisest man who ever lived told you that life is meaningless? Not because he had lost faith, but because he had seen everything the world could offer and still found himself empty. That's the voice behind Ecclesiastes, a king with palaces, power, and pleasures, a scholar with unmatched insight, a man who built cities, wrote proverbs. What if the wisest man who ever lived told you that life is meaningless? Not because he had lost faith, but because he had seen everything the world could offer and still found himself empty. That's the voice behind Ecclesiastes, a king with palaces, power, and pleasures, a scholar with unmatched insight, a man who built cities, wrote proverbs, led nations, and then sat down, stared at the horizon, and whispered, "All of it is vanity." This isn't a book about despair. It's a confrontation, an invitation, a mirror to our modern striving, and a voice from the dust saying, you can have everything and still feel nothing. Ecclesiastes doesn't offer pretty answers. It offers real ones. It walks us through and the weight of time, and the trap of wealth, the exhaustion of performance, and the futility of chasing applause. But somewhere between the questions and the tears, Solomon points us to something deeper, a life anchored in awe of God, grounded in the present, freed from the need to prove anything. This devotional journey through Ecclesiastes will not just inspire you, it will challenge you, strip you, heal you. Because sometimes God leads us through the emptiness of everything, just to show us He is our everything. If you've been searching for clarity, purpose, or peace, you're in the right place. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with someone who needs encouragement. We're about to uncover timeless truths that will reshape how you live, work, love, and worship. The illusion of control. 1. Grasping for the wind. Meaningless. Meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 1:2. Solomon begins with a thunderclap, a declaration not of hope, but of hollowness. We flinch when we hear it. We want to say, no, surely life has meaning. But Solomon knew something we often ignore. The pursuit of meaning outside of God is like trying to bottle the wind. We build, we buy, we break ourselves to climb ladders, only to realize the ladder was leaning on the wrong wall. Solomon had wisdom, wealth, and women, yet all of it left him aching for more. Have you ever chased something you thought would satisfy, only to get it and still feel empty? That's not failure. That's the illusion of control crumbling. 2. The burden of knowing too much. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. Ecclesiastes 1:18. We glorify knowledge, books, degrees, podcasts, insights. But Solomon realized something strange. The more you understand life, the more it hurts. Why? Because you start to see behind the curtain. You see injustice. You notice time slipping away. You realize how fragile people are and how flawed systems remain. And most of all, you realize that you can't fix it all. Knowledge shows you how broken the world is, but it doesn't always give you the power to mend it. That's the torment of control. You know what's wrong, but you can't stop it. 3. The pursuit of pleasure, the emptiness of achievement. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired, yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, everything was meaningless. Ecclesiastes 2:10-11. Solomon didn't just seek meaning in wisdom. He tried pleasure next. He threw himself into projects, gardens, palaces, vineyards. He gathered singers, servants, silver. And then one day, he stood back, looked at it all, and felt nothing. Can you relate? You finally get the car, the apartment, the new job title. But the high doesn't last, because pleasure without purpose is just a distraction from despair. Solomon isn't saying we shouldn't enjoy life. He's warning us. Don't look to created things to fill eternal holes. 4. Time waits for no one. There is a time for everything, a time to be born and a time to die. Ecclesiastes 3:1-2. You can't control time. You can't slow it. You can't stretch it. You can't keep it from stealing what you love. There is a rhythm to life that we must submit to, not dominate. Time humbles us. It reminds us we are dust, and that the moments we rush past may one day be the ones we miss. We try so hard to schedule, hustle, and master time. But Solomon reminds us, we're not time's master, we're its steward. So live today, be present, say what you need to say, forgive, laugh, mourn, because this moment will not return. 5. To dust we will return. All go to the same place, all come from dust, and to dust all return. Ecclesiastes 3:20. Death levels the playing field, whether king or servant, CEO or cleaner. We return to dust. It sounds morbid, but it's actually freeing. Why? Because it forces us to face reality. And in that reality, we stop obsessing over titles, likes, or legacy. Instead, we begin to ask, what will outlast me? Solomon isn't being dark, he's being honest. When you accept your mortality, you start to live more intentionally. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You begin to plant seeds that will bloom long after you're gone. 6. God is in control. You are not. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Ecclesiastes 3:11. Here's the paradox. God gave us a glimpse of eternity, but wrapped us in the limits of time. We long for forever, but we live in the now. We ache for control, but live in the shadow of mystery. And yet, God is still in control. He makes everything beautiful, not when we demand it, but in its time. That's the secret to peace, letting go of control and trusting the one who already sees the end from the beginning. You don't need all the answers, you just need to know the one who does. Reflection. Solomon undoes our obsession with control. We are not gods. We cannot hold time. We cannot fill the void with pleasure or performance. And yet, we are deeply loved by the one who can. Letting go is not weakness, it's worship. Release the illusion and rest in the truth. You are never meant to carry what only God can control. The search for meaning and success. 1. The trap of self-driven success. I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Ecclesiastes 4:4. Success often starts with drive, but Solomon shows us something darker behind the curtain. Envy. We don't always work hard because we love the work. We work to stay ahead, to not be outdone, to feel enough in a world that keeps moving the bar higher. You see someone's lifestyle, and suddenly your life feels too small. So you push harder, strive further, climb faster. But success fueled by comparison is just exhaustion in disguise. It's not ambition that's bad. It's when we pursue it to silence our insecurity instead of living from purpose. 2. Better one handful with peace. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Ecclesiastes 4:6. Imagine standing with two hands full, but your soul empty. That's the image Solomon paints. We think more equal to better, but sometimes more steals your rest. You miss family dinners. You carry guilt for not being present. You can't sleep because you're building something you secretly resent. So Solomon asks, what if one handful is enough, if it comes with peace? Real success is not about how much you carry, but how peacefully you can live with what you carry. Peace is not passive, it's powerful. 3. The loneliness of climbing alone. There was a man all alone. He had neither son nor brother, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. Ecclesiastes 4:8. Success is seductive, but it can be isolating. In our race to build empires, we often lose the people who once mattered. The man Solomon speaks of had riches, but no one to share it with, no one to celebrate with, no one to inherit it. His wealth couldn't speak, his success couldn't hug him, his money couldn't hold his hand. Sometimes we need to ask, what's the point of reaching the top if we arrive alone? Let success never come at the cost of soul companionship. 4. The power of two. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. We weren't made to strive alone. Success was never meant to be a solo mission. God designed community, partnership, teamwork, family, so that when we fall, and we will, someone will be there to say, "I've got you." Too many of us are silently falling while pretending to be strong. We're celebrated for being independent, but slowly breaking under invisible weights. Solomon reminds us, it's not weakness to need someone, it's wisdom. True success is shared. It holds hands, not just trophies. 5. Fame fades fast. The youth may rise and replace the king, but those who come later are not pleased with the successor. Ecclesiastes 4:15-16. Solomon had seen it all, and he had seen how quickly the crowd forgets. You may be the leader today, but someone younger, faster, flashier will rise tomorrow. You may trend now, but algorithms move on. You may be praised today and criticized tomorrow. That's not meant to discourage you. It's meant to free you. Don't build your worth on applause. Don't anchor your value in being admired, because the spotlight always moves, and when it does, you'll want something deeper holding you up. 6. Let God define success. Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. Go near to listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools. Ecclesiastes 5:1. Sometimes we bring our hustle mindset into our spiritual life. We think, if I do more, God will bless me. If I serve more, fast more, pray louder, maybe then I'll be valuable. But Solomon says, stop performing. Start listening. Let God speak, not just through your striving, but in your stillness. God doesn't define success the way we do. To him, the greatest achievement is often obedience, and the loudest yes is the one we whisper when no one sees. Let him redefine success for you, because only his version lasts beyond the grave. Reflection, redefining the win. Solomon unpacks our obsession with performance-based meaning. He strips success of its glamour and invites us into something deeper, and peace over productivity, on partnership over pride, on purpose over applause, obedience over outcome. Maybe real success isn't climbing the mountain, but having the courage to come back down and sit with someone in the valley. The emptiness of riches without rest. 1. When having more doesn't mean living better. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 5:10. We assume that wealth is the answer. If I could just earn more, if I could just upgrade this, if I could just get that promotion. But Solomon had more than you and I will ever touch. And still he said, it's not enough. It never feels like enough, because money is a tool, not a source of peace. If your heart craves more, it will never be full. Not with zeros in your account, not with clothes in your closet, not with applause in your ears. The love of money doesn't fill the soul. It inflames the hunger. 2. The weight of wealth. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owners except to feast their eyes on them? Ecclesiastes 5:11. You think wealth will ease your life, but sometimes it just complicates it. More money, more responsibility, more mouths to feed, more hands in your pocket, more worries that someone will take it, lose it, or misuse it. Solomon realized that riches often attract takers, but not always true companions. You end up staring at what you own, but not enjoying it. Money that can't bring peace is just a mirror. It reflects your fears, not your freedom. 3. Sleep escapes the wealthy. The sleep of a laborer is sweet, but the abundance of a rich man permits him no sleep. Ecclesiastes 5:12. The man who works hard and eats little sleeps peacefully, but the one who chases riches often lies awake, worried about investments, stressed about losses, afraid of thieves, anxious about taxes. It's a sobering truth. You can have a full house and an empty pillow. Peace is not a luxury item. It's a spiritual inheritance, but only if your heart is not chained to wealth. True rest is not found in owning more. It's found in trusting God more. 4. Naked we came, naked we go. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. They take nothing from their toil. Ecclesiastes 5:15. There's a sacred humility in death. No matter how high we rise, we all go the same way, naked. No gold follows us. No estate papers are packed in our casket. No designer clothes matter beyond the grave. Solomon reminds us, we spend years building treasures that time will erase. So ask yourself, what will outlast your possessions? What will echo in heaven when your hands are empty? Legacy is not about how much you leave behind. It's about what you sow into eternity. 5. The tragedy of riches with no heir. God gives someone wealth, but does not grant them the ability to enjoy it, and strangers enjoy it instead. Ecclesiastes 6:2. What if you build it all, but don't get to live in the joy of it? What if you work all your life, only to be too bitter, too sick, too exhausted to even enjoy what you earned? Or worse, what if you never pass it on to those you love? What if strangers enjoy your reward because you never paused long enough to share it? Solomon says that is one of the most painful tragedies of life, having everything, but no joy, no gratitude, and no legacy. Wealth without rest is not a blessing. It's a burden in disguise. 6. Contentment is the real treasure. It is good and proper for a man to eat and drink and to find satisfaction in his toilsome labor. This is a gift of God. Ecclesiastes 5:18. In a noisy world full of upgrades and alerts, contentment is a quiet miracle. It doesn't come when you finally arrive. It comes when you finally surrender. It's learning to say, this is enough. This moment is holy. This provision is plenty. Contentment isn't laziness. It's freedom. It doesn't kill ambition. It purifies it so that your goals don't consume your soul. Solomon didn't say stop working. He said, work hard, eat well, rest deep, enjoy fully, and thank God. Because even the joy of your daily bread is a gift. Reflection, what are you really rich in? Solomon flips the script on worldly wealth. He shows us, and riches without joy are just shiny chains. Rest is better than riches that keep you awake. Death reminds us of what really matters, and peace is a greater possession than gold. And true prosperity is knowing when to stop chasing and start cherishing. Ask yourself today, are you truly rich or just busy? Because the richest people in God's kingdom often have the fewest cravings and the deepest peace. Wisdom in a world of fools. 1. The shadow side of wisdom. For the wise, like the fool, will not be long remembered. The days have already come when both have been forgotten. Ecclesiastes 2:16. Solomon had wisdom unlike any other. People traveled nations to hear his thoughts, and yet he stared at the future and said, even the wise will be forgotten. This is the shadow side of wisdom. We often think knowledge will make us immortal, that if we write books, teach students, or innovate something grand, we'll live forever in memory. But time has a way of erasing even the most brilliant footprints. Solomon isn't telling us to abandon wisdom. He's warning us, don't build your identity on being remembered. Because even wisdom is dust if it's not rooted in reverence for God. 2. Better a wise child than a foolish king. Better a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who no longer knows how to heed a warning. Ecclesiastes 4:13. In a world that idolizes status, Solomon flips the script. He says the one who listens, who remains teachable, is wiser than the one who rules but refuses correction. Foolishness is not about age. It's about arrogance. You can be young and wise if your heart is humble. You can be powerful and foolish if your pride drowns every voice but your own. Wisdom listens. Foolishness performs. So ask yourself, do you seek truth or just applause? Because success with a deaf heart is still failure in God's eyes. 3. Don't let anger live in you. Do not be quickly provoked in your spirit, for anger resides in the lap of fools. Ecclesiastes 7:9. We all get angry. But Solomon makes a distinction. Anger that visits versus anger that stays. Anger that visits can be righteous. It defends the weak. It reacts to injustice. It stirs us to pray, to speak, to change. But anger that resides, it eats you alive. Fools cradle their bitterness like a trophy. They rehearse offenses. They replay conversations. Wisdom lets go. Wisdom forgives, not because it's easy, but because carrying offense is too heavy for a wise soul. 4. There's a time to keep quiet. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouts of a ruler of fools. Ecclesiastes 9:17. In our loud world, noise often wins attention. We shout online, we post, we prove, we clap back. But Solomon says, wisdom whispers, and when it does, the wise lean in. You don't have to shout to be heard. God's voice wasn't in the fire or earthquake. It was in the still, small voice. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing. Let fools bark. Let crowds argue. You stay rooted, because wisdom doesn't need an audience. It just needs truth. 5. Even wisdom can't control outcomes. The race is not to the swift or the battle to the strong, but time and chance happen to them all. Ecclesiastes 9:11. We like to believe that if we plan well, speak wisely, and walk with integrity, things will go our way. But Solomon dismantles that illusion. Sometimes the wise are overlooked, the prepared are bypassed, the good suffer, the bad succeed. And wisdom, it can't always explain why. That's the frustration and the beauty. Even the wise must trust, not just understand. Wisdom doesn't guarantee comfort. It teaches us to walk with discernment and mystery. That's real faith. 6. A fly in the ointment. As dead flies give perfume a bad smell, so a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. Ecclesiastes 10:1. One foolish act can stain a lifetime of wisdom. One reckless decision can shatter trust built over years. Solomon's analogy is brutal but true. A single fly can ruin the fragrance. In a world obsessed with grace, we sometimes forget the cost of foolishness. God forgives, yes, but consequences often remain. So guard your steps, guard your tongue, guard your heart. Because wisdom isn't just about what you build, it's about what you protect. Don't let a moment of foolishness undo a legacy of obedience. Reflection. Choose the quiet path of the wise. Solomon reveals that wisdom is humble, not boastful. It listens before it speaks. It releases anger, even when justified. It recognizes its limits, and it protects its reputation with careful stewardship. You won't always be praised for being wise. You might be overlooked, laughed at, even outshouted. But God sees, and His kingdom is built on the backs of those who choose the quiet path of the wise, while fools dance in the spotlight. The mystery of life and the fear of God. 1. There's so much we can't know. When I applied my mind to know wisdom and to observe the labor that is done on earth, no one can comprehend what goes on under the sun. Ecclesiastes 8:16-17. Solomon tried. He really did. He applied his brilliant mind to the systems of the world: justice, labor, love, pain. But the deeper he dug, the more he realized there are limits to human understanding. Some things on earth simply don't make sense. Why the innocent suffer, why the wicked thrive, why time seems cruel. Even the wise can't decode it all. That's not a reason to give up. It's a reason to trust, to admit our minds weren't made to hold the full blueprint, just the hand of the builder. 2. The righteous and the wicked, a divine mystery. There is something else meaningless that occurs on earth. The righteous who get what the wicked deserve, and the wicked who get what the righteous deserve. Ecclesiastes 8:14. Have you ever seen good people lose everything and wicked people win? You're not alone. Solomon saw it too, and it broke him. Because if righteousness doesn't always lead to reward on earth, what's the point? This is the divine mystery. God is just, yet injustice exists. But faith says, though we don't see justice immediately, God's hand is still sovereign. Ecclesiastes teaches us that righteousness is not about reward. It's about relationship with the one who sees beyond time. 3. Enjoy life, even in mystery. So I commend the enjoyment of life, because there is nothing better for a person under the sun than to eat and drink and be glad. Ecclesiastes 8:15. Solomon isn't telling us to party recklessly. He's telling us to slow down and savor. Life may not always make sense, but that doesn't mean it's not still beautiful. You won't get all the answers, but you can still laugh, still gather with friends, still eat with joy, still see God in ordinary pleasures. There is a holiness in simplicity. There is peace in letting go. Don't wait for full understanding before you begin living, because joy is found in trust, not just explanation. 4. The same fate awaits us all. The same destiny overtakes all. The hearts of people are full of evil, and there is madness in their hearts while they live, and afterward they join the dead. Ecclesiastes 9:3. It sounds grim, but it's honest. Death is not reserved for the wicked. It comes for the kind, the cruel, the wise, the foolish. That sounds unfair until you realize death is the great equalizer. It doesn't play favorites, and that should shape how you live. You don't have forever to forgive, to love, to change, to obey. Let death humble, not haunt you, because the awareness of death is what gives life its urgency. 5. The fear of God is the anchor in the storm. Although a wicked person who commits 100 crimes may live a long time, I know that it will go better with those who fear God. Ecclesiastes 8:12. You may not always be rewarded now, but the one who fears God walks with eternal security. The fear of God isn't terror, it's awe, reverence. The daily posture of saying, God, I don't understand everything, but I trust your justice more than my logic. The fear of God doesn't erase mystery. It makes mystery safe. It anchors your heart when circumstances confuse your mind, when wickedness seems to win, when pain defies reason. Those who fear the Lord have peace that doesn't shatter with headlines. 6. True wisdom begins with surrender. So I saw that wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness, but the same fate overtakes them both. Ecclesiastes 2:13-14. Wisdom helps you see. Folly stumbles in shadows. But even with wisdom, Solomon acknowledges, we all die. So what's the point? The point is not avoiding death, but living prepared for it. Wisdom isn't about knowing it all. It's about knowing who to trust when nothing makes sense. And that trust? It starts with surrender. Surrendering your need to control, to always know, to always win, and resting in the truth that God is God. And that's enough. Reflection when you don't understand. Trust anyway. We sit with mystery. We face unfairness. We realize our wisdom has limits, and we find our only safe response is holy surrender. Solomon doesn't answer every question, but he points us to a posture. Live well, even if life isn't fair. Laugh often, even if death looms. Fear God, even if the wicked seem to win. Trust, even when understanding is out of reach. Because peace doesn't come from getting answers. It comes from walking with the answer himself. The seasons of life and the call to balance. 1. There is a time for everything. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Ecclesiastes 3:1. This is one of Solomon's most famous reflections. And for good reason. It reads like poetry, but it lives like wisdom. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to laugh, a time to weep, a time to build, a time to tear down. Every line confronts our desire to control timing. We want endless summer. We want growth without pruning. But Solomon shows us that life in God's hands is seasonal, not static. And wisdom isn't resisting the season, it's learning how to flow with it. 2. Joy and sorrow are both holy, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Ecclesiastes 3:4. Modern life tries to escape sorrow. We mute it, ignore it, scroll past it, replace it with noise. But Solomon reminds us, sorrow is not sin. There is a sacredness in mourning, a depth in grieving, a power in facing pain without pretending it doesn't exist. Likewise, dancing is not always about celebration. Sometimes it's resistance. Sometimes it's joy despite the battle. Both are holy. Both are part of your spiritual rhythm. Don't be ashamed of your season. Let God meet you there. 3. God makes everything beautiful in its time. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Ecclesiastes 3:11. This might be the most hopeful line in all of Ecclesiastes. Not everything is beautiful right now, but it will be. In its time, the wounds, the waiting, the confusion, the delay. You may not see the design now, but you're not abandoned. You're being shaped, and that deep longing in you, that ache for more, that's eternity in your chest. You were created for more than this world can offer, and that's why no season, good or bad, can fully satisfy you. But God's timing can. 4. Do not rush the process. What do workers gain from their toil? Ecclesiastes 3:9. Sometimes in our obsession with progress, we forget to pause and breathe. We labor endlessly. We chase timelines. We measure life in milestones. But Solomon reminds us to ask, what's the point of all this toil if we miss the meaning behind it? Are you just rushing to the next season without absorbing what this one is teaching you? God is not only found in breakthroughs, He is deeply present in the in-between. Slow down. Trust the process. Even the invisible growth counts. 5. Each season has its weight and its wisdom, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to be silent and a time to speak. Ecclesiastes 3:6-7. Discernment is knowing what the season calls for. There's a time to speak up and a time to let God fight for you. There's a time to hold on and a time to release the thing that's holding you back. There's a time to confront and a time to cover in love. Wisdom isn't one size fits all. It's learning how to read the room of your life. Some doors close not because you failed, but because the season changed, and that's okay. 6. Everything has its appointed time. God does it so that people will fear Him. Ecclesiastes 3:14. Solomon closes his reflection by reminding us that God's timing is intentional. He orchestrates seasons not just to test us, but to teach us reverence. When you realize that you don't control the clock, you stop trying to be God. You start trusting God, and that's where real peace begins. Because the same God who holds the universe in place holds your timeline in His palm. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're just being refined for your appointed time. Reflection. Trust the season you're in. Solomon teaches us to embrace every season without rushing. Trust God's timing even when we don't understand. Find purpose in both pain and joy. Lean into silence and stillness when needed. Let go of what no longer belongs. Surrender the desire to control outcomes, because if God makes all things beautiful in their time, then your story is not late. It's just becoming. Wealth, work, and what truly matters. 1. Toil without joy is emptiness. What do people get for all the toil and anxious striving with which they labor under the sun? Ecclesiastes 2:22. Solomon isn't questioning the value of work. He's questioning the burden of work without purpose. He watched people break their backs, chase status, accumulate wealth, but remain empty. Why? Because when your identity is tied to your productivity, you will never know peace. The work becomes a taskmaster, not a calling. The fruit of your labor becomes tasteless, because joy has been choked by anxiety. Solomon says, pause, ask yourself, is your work leading to life or stealing it? 2. We work, but who will enjoy it? They may leave their wealth to another who has not toiled for it. Ecclesiastes 2:21. You can spend decades building an empire, and someone else may enjoy the fruit. It's a hard truth. Solomon isn't being cynical. He's being honest. We work so hard to build legacies, to pass something down, but in the end, we control nothing beyond the grave. So what's the solution? Work with joy, give with intention, enjoy the journey, not just the destination. Because if your joy is always in someday, you might miss the sacredness of today. 3. The gift of enjoying your labor. This is what I have observed to be good, that it is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and to find satisfaction in their toilsome labor. Ecclesiastes 5:18. There's something sacred about loving the work you do, not because it's easy, not because it makes you rich, but because God allows you to see fruit in it and find joy in the process. Solomon calls this a gift from God. So many people work tirelessly but never taste the joy of it. If you found work that fulfills you, even in small ways, thank God. And if you haven't yet, pray not just for a job, but for joy in your journey. 4. Chasing wealth can be a trap. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 5:10. Money itself isn't evil, but the love of it, it's a spiritual snare. It whispers just a little more. It deceives you into endless striving. The more you have, the more you crave. And soon contentment becomes impossible. Wealth becomes your God, and your soul becomes its servant. Solomon had it all: palaces, servants, silver beyond counting, and still said, it's not enough, because what we truly crave isn't money, it's meaning, and only God provides that. 5. You can't take it with you. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. Ecclesiastes 5:15. It's one of the rawest verses in Ecclesiastes. No matter how much you own, how well you plan, or how high you climb, you leave it all behind. Solomon isn't saying not to work. He's saying, keep eternity in mind. We're stewards, not owners. We're passing through, not settling down forever. Let that shape how you spend, save, serve, and sow, because the greatest wealth is not what you hold, but what you give. 6. What truly matters can't be bought. Better a handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Ecclesiastes 4:6. You don't need more stuff, you need more stillness. Solomon says it's better to have less with peace than more with endless stress. That means downsizing ambition when necessary, saying no to extra income that costs your soul, choosing rest over reputation. This isn't laziness. This is wisdom. Your soul was not made for burnout. It was made to walk with God, to hear Him in the quiet, to serve with joy, to give freely. Let your hands be full of what matters, not just what impresses. Reflection, redefining success in God's eyes. Solomon draws a line between working for meaning versus working for man's approval, enjoying the present versus idolizing future success, loving your labor versus being enslaved by it, holding loosely versus gripping tightly. You were not created to be owned by your career or defined by your income. You were created to co-labor with God, to build what blesses others, to rest in your limits, and to find joy in ordinary days. Let your work glorify God, not exhaust your soul. Wisdom, words, and the weight of the tongue. 1. Words from the wise are gentle. The words of the wise are heard in quiet more than the cry of him that rules among fools. Ecclesiastes 9:17, KJV. In a world that rewards volume, Solomon honors gentleness. The wise don't need to shout. Their words carry weight because they are measured, thoughtful, and rooted in truth. A gentle word can disarm anger. A quiet correction can bring deep conviction. A soft answer can stop a storm. If your goal is to heal, not just to win, your words must be guided by wisdom, not impulse. Because words spoken in peace are remembered far longer than words shouted in pride. 2. A fool multiplies words. A fool multiplies words, though no man knows what is to be. Ecclesiastes 10:14. Fools love to hear themselves speak. They have opinions on everything, even things they do not understand. They talk and talk and talk, but offer little substance. Solomon isn't just pointing at the loud, he's exposing the unwise confidence of those who speak without discernment. In contrast, the wise know when to be quiet. They admit when they don't know. They speak less, but mean more. Let your speech be seasoned with grace, not cluttered with ego. Sometimes silence is the wisest answer. 3. Words can ruin a life. Through laziness, the rafters sag. Because of idle hands, the house leaks. Ecclesiastes 10:18. This verse speaks of neglect. But think about it in the context of words. Just like a neglected roof collapses, relationships break down when careless words are left unchecked. A small insult, a sarcastic comment, a moment of gossip. It doesn't seem like much, but over time, these leaks destroy trust. Be diligent with your speech. Check for emotional leaks in your home, your friendships, your ministry. Repair with humility. Restore with love. Speak life before silence becomes damage. 4. Words of the wise bring healing. The words from the mouth of the wise are gracious. Ecclesiastes 10:12. Gracious doesn't mean soft, it means life-giving. The wise know when to encourage the discouraged, and gently rebuke the arrogant, and speak vision into the broken. Offer truth without cruelty. Your words don't need to be perfect, but they must be anchored in love. You never know when your voice is the one God intends to use to stop someone from giving up. So don't waste your speech. Don't just echo noise. Be a mouthpiece of mercy and insight. 5. Be slow to curse others, even in secret. Do not revile the king even in your thoughts, or curse the rich in your bedroom, because a bird in the sky may carry your words. Ecclesiastes 10:20. Solomon reminds us, even your private words carry consequences. Don't curse in whispers and think you're safe. Words have a strange way of flying back and hurting the one who spoke them most. There's spiritual power in your mouth. When you speak bitterness, you open the door for it to live in you. So choose restraint. Let even your secret words honor God. Because the real test of character is not what we say publicly, but what we whisper when no one is listening. 6. Wisdom is often hidden in few words. The more the words, the less the meaning, and how does that profit anyone? Ecclesiastes 6:11. We often try to over-explain, over-speak, over-prove. But Solomon says, more words don't mean more wisdom. Sometimes wisdom speaks in a sentence, in a pause, in a question, in silence. Jesus himself often answered with few words, and yet his responses broke chains, silenced crowds, healed wounds. Don't be afraid to let your speech breathe. Let your words carry spirit, not just sound. When you speak with heaven's wisdom, even a whisper can echo eternity. Reflection. Use your words wisely. Solomon challenges us to examine, and not just what we say, but how and why we say it. Whether our words heal or harm. If we're speaking from wisdom or insecurity. Whether we're willing to be silent when needed. And if our words in secret match our words in public. Your tongue is a tool. It can build or break, bless or curse, stir peace or stir poison. Let God govern your mouth, so your voice becomes an extension of His grace. Legacy, death, and living with eternity in mind. 1. The living know they will die. The living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. Ecclesiastes 9:5. It sounds harsh, but it's honest. Solomon doesn't sugarcoat the truth. Everyone dies. But what sets the living apart is that we know it, and that knowledge is meant to wake us up. You have the gift of today. You can still pray, change, forgive, start over, build, and bless. The dead can't choose anymore. But you can. Let this sobering truth stir gratitude, not fear. Because as long as you're breathing, there's time to live with purpose. 2. Legacy is more than wealth. A good name is better than fine perfume, and the day of death better than the day of birth. Ecclesiastes 7:1. A name, not a net worth. That's what truly lasts. Your legacy isn't built by how much you own, but how you treated people, how you loved, how you endured trials, how you carried God's light in darkness. Solomon reminds us, birth is filled with potential, but death reveals the story you lived. Live in a way that your exit will echo with honor, because your name will live longer than your possessions ever will. 3. Death should teach us how to live. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting. Ecclesiastes 7:2. This feels upside down. How can mourning be better than celebration? Because mourning confronts us with truth. Life is short, we are fragile, we must live with intentionality. Solomon says a funeral teaches more than a festival. Because when you see the end, you remember what truly matters. And not how many followers you had, not how big your house was, but who you were when no one watched. Let the shadow of death make your light burn brighter. 4. Time and chance happen to us all. The race is not to the swift, nor favor to the learned, but time and chance happen to them all. Ecclesiastes 9:11. You can do everything right and still lose. You can work hard and still be overlooked. Life doesn't always reward by effort or fairness. And this truth, if you're not careful, can lead to bitterness. But Solomon isn't discouraging effort. He's urging you to anchor your hope in eternity, not outcomes. Your value is not tied to success. Your purpose is not canceled by a closed door. God sees what man overlooks, so live righteously, even when the results don't show immediately. 5. You don't know what will happen tomorrow. No one knows when their hour will come. Ecclesiastes 9:12. Solomon uses the image of a bird caught in a net. Sudden, unexpected, final. And isn't that how life feels sometimes? The phone rings, the diagnosis drops, the accident happens, and suddenly, plans shift. You don't know your hour, so don't delay obedience. Don't postpone kindness. Don't assume tomorrow will come. Say it now. Forgive today. Start now. Serve now. Live each day in light of eternity, not assumption. 6. Sow in the morning, sow in the evening. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed. Ecclesiastes 11:6. Solomon gives simple, wise advice. Keep planting. You don't know which seed will bloom, so keep showing up. Some efforts will be forgotten. Some videos won't go viral. Some acts of kindness may not be returned. But keep sowing, because God is the Lord of the harvest, not man. Your job is faithfulness, not forecasting. And in eternity's books, every seed sown with love is remembered, even if no one claps for it here. Reflection: eternity is closer than you think. Solomon gently reminds us that life is fragile, and death is inevitable, when legacy is sacred, and time is precious, and results are unpredictable, but every act of love counts in eternity. You are not promised endless days, but you are promised that your life can echo into forever when lived with God. So don't waste your vapor. Use your breath to glorify the one who gave it to you. The final word: fear God and keep his commandments. 1. All has been heard. Now what? Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Ecclesiastes 12:13. After chapters of wisdom, sorrow, and searching, Solomon arrives at a sobering moment. He's tasted everything the world offers. He's questioned life, wealth, pleasure, pain, and toil. And now he leans back, exhales, and says, "This is it. I've said all there is to say. Here's what really matters." This is not resignation. It's revelation. Sometimes clarity only comes after the storm, and Solomon gives it to us in a single sentence. 2. Fear God. Fear God. Ecclesiastes 12:13. Not fear in the sense of terror, but a holy reverence, a trembling respect, a recognition of God's supreme holiness and unmatched authority. Solomon is saying, all your knowledge, all your possessions, all your influence mean nothing if you don't first stand in awe of your Creator. To fear God is to surrender your will, acknowledge your limits, live with eternal accountability, treasure His word above your own understanding. It's not about fear of punishment, but fear of living a life apart from His presence. 3. Keep His commandments, and keep His commandments. Ecclesiastes 12:13. Here's where many falter. We want wisdom, but not obedience. We want inspiration, but not instruction. But true wisdom is revealed in how we live, not just how we think. Solomon doesn't say, know his commandments. He says, keep them. Obedience isn't legalism. It's love in action. Jesus echoed this truth centuries later. If you love me, keep my commandments. John 14:15. What you believe is revealed in what you obey. If God's word is the final authority in your life, you're walking in true wisdom. 4. God will bring every deed to judgment, for God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing. Ecclesiastes 12:14. We live in a world obsessed with appearances, but God sees beneath the surface every motive, every thought, every act done in secret, every decision no one clapped for, every kindness that went unnoticed, every sin tucked away behind the curtain of reputation. It will all be brought into the light. But for the believer, this is not cause for panic. It's an invitation to live clean, walk humbly, and love deeply, because nothing is wasted in God's accounting, and nothing is hidden from His eyes. 5. The end of wisdom is worship. Solomon began this book with questions. He ends it with worship. That's the full circle of spiritual maturity. We all start with, what's the point of this life? Why is there so much pain? Is there anything that lasts? But when we walk through the fire, search the depths, and lay down pride, we come to the ultimate answer. Fear God. Keep His commandments. Because that's where peace lives, and that's where we finally stop chasing the wind and start chasing the King. Reflection. This is the whole duty of man. Solomon brings clarity to why you exist, who you're ultimately accountable to, what matters more than everything else you've pursued. He strips away religion, ambition, and confusion, and leaves you with a compass. Fear God. Keep His commandments. Live like every step echoes in eternity. This isn't the end of a book. It's the beginning of a wiser life. That's the end of our journey through Ecclesiastes, but it's only the beginning of a deeper walk with God. Remember, you were not made to chase the wind. You were made to walk in wisdom, to revere God, and to live with eternity in your heart. If this series blessed you, don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment below, and share it with a friend who's navigating life's big questions. More powerful Bible stories and devotionals are coming, and I can't wait to walk with you through them. Until next time, may you live every day with meaning, and may the fear of the Lord be the beginning of your wisdom.